Now, let me take you across to Dr. Rajan Kumar. He's from the School of International Studies in Jawaharlal University to talk about what has happened as far as Prime Minister Modi's visit is concerned over the 2 days that he was there in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It seems we're having some trouble connecting with our guest at the moment. We will try and reconnect with our guest in just a bit, but let me just recollect for you what has happened so far. And I see that Dr. Kumar is back with us. Dr. Kumar, what do you make of the kind of documents which have been exchanged this time around? Is it a pointer clearly to India and Malaysia forging a new path in terms of where their cooperation has gone so far and adding more elements to it?
Thank you, Gautam, for having me here. Definitely, without any doubt, this was a very important visit of Prime Minister to a very important country in Southeast Asia. This, as you know, Malaysia is a member of ASEAN, and in terms of economy, size, etc., this is a third largest economy and important country. So Prime Minister Modi's visit kind of it built upon some of the things which have been emerging in the last few years. As you know, in 2024, India and Malaysia they became the comprehensive strategic partnership, which basically covers all the areas. And as Meghna, your reporter, pointed out, that there has been agreements. Joint statement covers a wide spectrum of areas, right from security to defense, geopolitics, and energy, green energy, and then most important in today's time, which is semiconductor, which is important from the global supply chain perspective. Also, the statement was made on the free navigation in the sea, essentially referring to the issue of Chinese growing influence in the region. So, in my view, it consolidates some of the things which were building up in the last few years. And this visit is important because this is important first because you have to see in the larger perspective. Malaysia is a member of ASEAN, and we want to have very strong ties with ASEAN. We have very good trading cooperation with ASEAN. Also, there is an issue, and a very important issue, which is related to trade deficit, because we have with ASEAN, if I tell you, we have a trade of more than $125 billion, roughly, I'm saying. And out of that, we have a huge trade deficit with ASEAN countries. And this trade deficit has increased in the last few years after the signing of Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement with ASEAN. So we are working on that. Although this visit was essentially bilateral, but you can see from the messages from the joint statement, there are several multilateral issues which were also discussed. So ASEAN, multilateralism within the ASEAN framework, then security within the Indo-Pacific, also the bilateral issues where number of agreements have been signed in health sector, education, energy, etc., and again semiconductor, and also the transfer of this what you call payment, where Indian payment system would be linked to the Malaysian payment system. So all these agreements kind of they support the idea that that India and Malaysia, they need to work together. They're working together. Also, one important thing which came out in the last 2 days meeting, India's Prime Minister Modi's emphasis on this diaspora connection. As you know, that Malaysia has one of the largest Indian diaspora. Total, if I tell you, people of Indian origin, so that's about 27 lakh people. And if I call all the diaspora, including the NRIs, etc., so it's about roughly about 29 lakh people. So Prime Minister also emphasized on that. Several educational cooperation agreements were also signed. So that this was a very important visit of Prime Minister Modi to Malaysia, and this is within the broader framework of what you call Act East policy, which was initiated when Prime Minister Modi first time became the Prime Minister here, and he started working. He converted this Look East policy of 1990s to Act East policy. So it falls within the larger framework of that Act East policy. And again, because Malaysia also has, well, let me tell you, very good, strong ties with China. But at the same time, Malaysia and a number of other countries in Southeast Asia, they seek to diversify their foreign policy with other countries, in which context the Western countries, but also India becomes important. And as you know, India is a powerful emerging economy today, and Malaysia and all the Southeast Asian countries know that one country which can play a very balancing role and which can lead, kind of pull up the economies of Southeast Asia. So apart from China, that has to be India. And given the proximity that we have with these countries in terms of trade, cultural connectivity, etc., it's much easier for Malaysia and other countries of Southeast Asia to cooperate with India. So I think it was a very important visit, and it consolidated some of the things which were building up in the last few years.
Certainly. Let's go a little granular on this. Let's talk about this semiconductors and the scope of collaboration there, because Malaysia is a country which is the sixth largest exporter of semiconductors and has had that ability in semiconductors for decades now, 3 or 4 perhaps decades. So to what extent do you see this collaboration that India is trying to forge with Malaysia? Where do you see it going? Because India has its own semiconductor mission, which is now it's in the second iteration, a 2.0 phase, where a lot of resources have been committed, and 10 projects have also been initiated, and they will start bearing fruit perhaps later this year itself.
Absolutely. One of the issues which has which has emerged in the last few years because of Trump's policy, and also because of the technological rivalry which is happening between United States and China, that the global supply chain has been disrupted. Because this China controls the rare earth material, and this United States control this what you call semiconductor industry in collaboration with Taiwan. So that has become an issue because these countries are pursuing very protectionist kind of policy, and there is a fear that at any point of time they might stop supplying to other countries. So as a consequence, what is happening in the rest of the world, that they are trying to develop and build up their own semiconductor industry, and India is pursuing very seriously. Even yesterday, if you see the newspaper today, so graphic processing unit, the agreement which we have signed with United States, where graphic processing unit, that is an important deal which has happened between the two countries. So we are trying to develop a semiconductor industry, for which we need collaboration with countries like Taiwan, countries like United States, which is again a major supplier of the critical technology in the semiconductor sector. And now we are also in the budget. If you see India's budget, we are talking about the creating data center, and we are providing some subsidies to the data center. For developing data centers, you will need what you call graphic processing units, and it will require this technology. It will also require energy, etc. And Malaysia, with its experience for a long time, I think for medium level semiconductor, etc., it can play a very important role if it decides to collaborate with India. So the agreements have been signed, and in future, because Malaysia also knows that India has the massive production capacity, and India is also the future market. So Malaysian companies would be interested in investing in India. So semiconductor, from that perspective, to avoid the disruption of global supply chain, it becomes very important collaboration with Malaysia in the semiconductor sector.
All right. And how notable is the fact that the two leaders have also emphasized increasing cooperation in the fields of defense, security, intelligence sharing, and terrorism has also been mentioned by Prime Minister Modi very strongly there. So what sort of challenges do you see which compel both India and Malaysia to come together on these issues as well, to ensure that they collaborate in ensuring better security and safety for their citizens and in the region, the wider region itself, ASEAN as well as Indo-Pacific?
Malaysia, in all practical terms, Gautam, is our neighbor, is a maritime neighbor. If you see our territory in India's territory in Andaman and Nicobar, and in Nicobar we are trying to set up a very strong maritime security arrangement. So Malaysia becomes important, and Malaysia is located just on the top of what you call this Malacca Strait, roughly about 50-kilometer stretch, and that is very important from the navigation point of view. So having important collaboration, this is to ensure free navigation, and that was this issue was raised in the joint statement, where they are talking about some kind of free navigation. It also refers to the free navigation in the South China Sea, because China is becoming very assertive in the South China Sea, and that will impact the trade of all the countries in the region, including India. Whatever we send it through South China Sea to, say, for instance, to either to China, to Southeast Asia, to Taiwan, or to Japan, Korea, etc. So it will pass through that route, and we need to have very strong maritime security. So from that perspective, it becomes important. But coming to the bilateral aspect, let me tell you that these two countries have been collaborating, and they are also doing a joint exercise. In 2023, Rajnath Singh visited, and he signed a very important agreement on defense cooperation between the two countries. And we also do have some military exercises. For instance, we have Himaru, which is a joint military exercise. Again, the Samudra Lakshman, this is another, when our ships go to the ports of Malaysia, and we do some joint exercise. Joint air exercises also happen between the two countries. So for the maritime security perspective, I'll tell you, Malaysia is extremely important. And if you want to have some influence in the Malacca Strait, which is known as the choke point for China, because 25% of energy trade of China takes place through that route. Having control in that Malacca Strait becomes extremely important, and that's why you need cooperation from countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore. And these are the countries which are located in that Malacca Strait. And now from the Andaman, connecting from Andaman Nicobar to that Southeast Asia, it becomes much easier if you have friendly ties with these countries. So that these are the things which are important from defense perspective, and I think in the joint statement this issue was underlined.
All right. Well, yes, they are indeed partners for long, and now the partnership being strengthened even further in areas which had previously been left unexplored. Thank you so much for talking about it with us, Dr. Arjun Kumar.